Hey guys, today we got, Tyson's not with me because he had to get out of here, but we got a really awesome podcast for you. This was one of my top favorite ones of all time. We got the brothers, Bryce and Danny Thompson in here. They own Window World here in Omaha and then a couple other places around. But the cadence in this and the energy in this podcast was amazing. We got to hear a little bit of their story, got to hear a little bit of one of my favorite stories of mine that I finally shared on the podcast. So a lot of good stuff in this podcast. Tyson shared some stuff about the military that I thought was super cool. Anyways, just overall great episode. I really look forward to you guys watching it. One quick plug, guys. If you're watching this podcast, the only way it's going to grow is through organic growth from word of mouth. You telling your friends, texting your friends, sharing on social media, that stuff. If you don't mind just sharing it with someone you know to get the word out there about it, we really appreciate it. We're doing this all for free, not having any sponsors, things like that on our own time. So we really appreciate sharing word of mouth if you get any kind of value out of it or enjoy it at all. Without further ado, let's get into the podcast.
Old family pictures.
Yeah.
To find baby pictures
We're
of
watching
me
videos.
and my girls.
For sure.
Everything's going to be digital.
Do you have girls too?
Yeah.
How many?
2.
Why does everybody we bring on have 2 girls?
Everybody.
He has 2 girls. I have 2 girls. You have 2 girls. Our buddy Will has 2 girls.
Yep.
Everybody's got 2 girls.
Marty has 2
Marty
girls.
has 2 girls. That's crazy.
Another buddy of mine, 2 girls.
Yeah.
So I have a friend.
Pregnant with another
What were
one.
those odds when I was growing?
Yeah. Still
So-
working on that.
Speaking of that, my buddy, one of my best friends, he's a pastor, but he's like really like one of the smartest guys I've ever met, like really cerebral. And he has this theory that he worked up from this like data and formula that there's a dropping birth rate. Everybody's heard that, right?
Yep.
The birth rate's dropping and like fertility is dropping. He has a theory in like, it's partly anecdotal, partly based on data, that there's going to be way more women than men coming up because fertility is going down. Naturally, our species is going to produce more women. And I'm like, dude, I see it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody I know has women.
Oh, everybody.
Everybody I know is having
It
girls.
feels like the last 2 or 3 years have
Yeah.
been the years of the
Only,
girls.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know one. I know one boy that's been born.
Meanwhile, one of our buddies, Perry, like total alpha male, strong as an ox, total like just athlete, great guy. 3 boys or 4? 3 boys.
3 boys?
Yeah, 3 boys.
Dude, which is
He
opposite.
could like he's the type he would go for 7 pregnancies and they'd all be boys.
Which is funny. They say the more testosterone you have, the more likely you are to have females.
Really?
To have women.
Shout out,
That's
boys.
it. Yeah, baby.
Shout out.
What's up? Testosterone.
There you go.
We'll see. On me. I'm a donut right now.
Yeah. So, what is your name?
Danny.
Danny.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making
Easy
sure.
for me. That's my older brother.
Tyson and Christian, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Do you want these typically close?
Dana
Yeah,
will
you want
adjust
them
them
kind
for
of
you.
like
Pretty close,
Pretty
yeah.
close.
That's perfect.
Below your eye line, you don't really want to feel like it's in your face, but
Okay.
it'll catch your voice pretty well. Yeah, beautiful. No more. There you go. Perfect.
That's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yep. Beautiful.
No hands. This is cool. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Fun. He texted me almost a week ago. You're like, hey, got a buddy of mine wants to do a podcast on like small business or entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you were like, no.
No, I was like, where, when?
Yeah.
Because who did you do yours with?
Protect Your Purpose. It's more of a. They have really like 4 main topics, and depending on the mood they're in. So there's this faith, freedom, family, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sick, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other than that, I've done that one and
Well,
had a great time.
one thing too, like I'm meeting Bryce, I'm like, man, this is like the second time we've ever met, but like, just there's a lot of common themes from like you guys, how you guys operate, just upbringing, and then also, the conversations you guys have. I'm a part of a workout group in the mornings, the leadership group is faith, family, fitness, and fellowship, and so there's a lot of common themes there. And then I was like, well, then this just kind of rolled into this is great to, just round it out with something like this is awesome.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, like, I was talking to Bryce about it, like, podcasts are a very, like, long-term play.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a while to audience build and do all that stuff. But selfishly, it's cool to just, like, have conversations like
man.
this.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Have
awesome.
a platform for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, a reason to talk to you guys.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like, if not, it's like, you guys want to get coffee?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, no.
Well, also I think there's an element too when we could be down in somebody's basement shooting the shit and having conversations, but when the environment is a little bit different, you can reach different surfaces than what you normally would when
It's
you're
true. We're here to have a conversation.
Yes.
We're not here to
Yep.
hang out. Like, do we talk? Do we not talk? Yeah.
It's like going to a comedy club. Like you're gonna go and you have to be in the mood to enjoy the comedy and laugh
Yep.
and like be lighthearted, thick skin, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you go into that comedy club and you're like, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna see if I can maintain that through this conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's not fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you go into a podcast, say, hey, we're here to talk. I'm an open book. You know, if I don't want to talk about something, that would just say no big deal. I was just letting it roll.
Everybody
Yep.
we've had on so far, like, we've had some conversations that I'm like, man, I don't think that went very good. Like, that to me, like, we've been meaning, but we left and we're like, I don't think they enjoyed it. Like, and then we'll get an email back and they're like, that was such an amazing experience.
Or like
that was one of the best
yeah.
conversations. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because we have high standards, first off, for like how we want it to go.
Cool.
Second,
Thanks. We're doomed.
well, I mean, like mainly our side of it. Like,
Yeah.
did we didn't ask enough questions,
Yeah,
or
were they
like
good
the conversation
enough?
didn't
Yeah.
flow right for us, whatever. But how many times do you sit down with people or other men or women, whatever, and just have a conversation?
Yeah. There's just not a lot of time.
Intentional.
Yeah,
and there's
very
no,
intent- that's
and no
a
one's
great
trying to get anything out of the
point.
conversation.
There's
You know what I mean? I'm
there's
not trying to
no
get you to sell something to me
preconceived
or buy
notion.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty rare.
I was watching a movie the other night, and it hits on this perfectly. So, it was I think it was
Ted Lasso.
Jack. No, but that's awesome.
That is a
It
good
is
I
one.
awesome.
love Ted Lasso. Jack Ryan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So Shadow Recruit. I watched
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Shadow Recruit the other night, and his girlfriend doesn't matter. The scene doesn't matter, but this Russian guy, they're sitting at the table and they're doing like this bullshit small talk banter, that meaningless banter, and he asked her a hard question, and she's like, "That's kind of personal," and he's like, "Do you want to chit chat or do you want to talk?"
Yeah. That's
Oh,
great.
interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. BS or real conversation, basically. Yeah.
So kind of getting into like your guys'
You rolling,
start.
Dana? Okay, perfect.
Are you so getting in there to start a little bit about Window World? How long have you guys had the ownership of? What was your first location here in Omaha?
First, yes. So you want to go into the story?
Yeah, roll it in. Yeah.
So Danny and I, our mom and then our stepdad, they actually started the franchise in Omaha in 2001,
Nice.
9/11/01. Actually, of
No
all
way.
days,
Wow,
that was
no
their
kidding.
very first day.
Cool.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
And so Window World, it's a national franchise.
Yep.
There's 200 Window Worlds across the country. We're in every state except for Alaska and I think Montana.
Yeah, that
Sounds like an
about right.
opportunity.
Window World
Sounds like a big opportunity.
Yeah.
Guys.
It sounds like
in Hawaii. So anyway, September of 01, they opened up the Omaha location. It was the 29th store.
Wow.
And then fast forward over the course of 10 years or so, they acquired and opened up 13.
Got up to 13.
Got up to 13. It was Omaha, Lincoln, Grand Island, Mason City, Davenport, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Fargo, Sioux Falls,
Wow.
Reno, Portland, Seattle, and then they had Denver there for a little while.
It was a load.
It was
That's a ton.
a lot.
Probably too much.
Yeah.
It's a lot to manage.
Debatable, but yeah, I mean, I think they would even say that was maybe
Stretched
a little
thin.
more than what.
And that was all your family?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
sweet.
they had. I think they did have a few partners mixed in
Yeah.
throughout that, but at that phase of Window World's growth as a franchisor, they were really wanting to run and gun and get a presence, establish a footprint in all these markets, and Mom and Mike were there at that time.
Yeah.
and so I think they helped open a lot of stores, and then in some cases they would back out and pass it off to a different ownership.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as Bryce said, in 2001 they opened Omaha. Up until I want to say 2010 is kind of when things flipped, and we got approached by our parents to with the opportunity to own Omaha and Wichita and start a buyout process
Oh, cool.
for those two stores. And I'll be honest with you, I was really ticked off. I was so mad at that time.
Because they asked Bryce too, or what?
yeah. They told me I had
I'll
to
do it
ask.
by myself.
Technically, I knew about it first.
There we go.
The real story is he's my little brother, so they said you got to ask him so
Yeah.
that he feels included.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it
We're
is.
gonna tell him we told him first. Okay.
To this day, it's still like that.
I got you. Yeah.
No, we're best buds.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So they approached us in 2010, and we were so ticked off, or I was ticked off, because at that time I was one of maybe, we'll call it 6 people who were quote unquote corporate, who were helping run central functions for at that time their bigger operation. And we had just kind of fleshed some things out, and we had just had some meetings, and we kind of had found a rhythm and we're improving a lot of things across all the stores. And then this bomb goes off and I didn't even think about it. And we've talked about it a bunch since. My eyes were completely closed because I didn't think about the huge opportunity that we had in front of us.
Oh, wow. So what were you upset about? You're upset about, hey, you're just like kind of leaving it?
I was like, I had the mentality of just like a diligently working soldier and like, hey, we're making great strides. Why are you leaving? Why are you going to ruin this? Like we're finally getting things into.
How old are you at that time?
26, I think.
Okay. Been working with. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What was your first take then when that kind of got approached? What was your thought?
Sorry, it was. I think a lot of shell shock. Maybe a sense of disbelief, like, holy cow, you're actually doing this. I think at the end of the day, after all the dust had settled, and it's mind blowing now to think about it, but Danny and I have been in this for 10 years now. Yeah. The same amount of time that my mom and Mike had their franchises for 10 years.
Interesting.
Those 10 years felt like 2 lifetimes.
Wow.
The 10 years that you and I have been in it, it's gone by in the blink of an eye.
Huh. Why do you think that?
Yeah, why?
But I think just
drinking water out of a fire hose for decades.
Yeah. He and I are both heavily involved with our stores. Mm-hmm. We're not owners of a company that just kind of sits at a desk and barks orders and commands people to do things. I'm very in the trenches, installations and sales and customer service stuff. And so I think just the day-to-day grind that exists, good or bad, you're a parent, you're a husband, you're a business owner. There's there's very little downtime. Yeah. It's you wake up, you go to work, you get to come home, you get to play with your kids, your wife, and then start the next thing the very next day. And so much of it just goes so fast and blends together. But I think much like Danny, it wasn't too long after they told us about it. I was 22, 23. He's 4 years older than I am. And I think when you're young, you're very driven, hungry. And you see, as he said, you see the opportunity that's there. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is both he and I, when we were growing up and when we were younger, both of us wanted nothing to do with windows. Yeah,
it's common.
We joke around about it all the time. It's not sexy.
Yeah.
It's where the money's made though.
But when you're
not unsexy things.
Yeah. But when you're in it, and you guys would probably agree, you can sell a certain product, but you just like working with people.
Yeah.
And you have a really good product. You try to surround yourself with good people, but have loved not every minute of it, but a lot of it.
60-40.
Yeah.
Did you guys, when you guys were going through that, I'm kind of curious what conversations went between you two. Like all of a sudden, people that you guys are looking up to, what was that like? Kind of like, hey, like talk about this. Like this is a lot. This is heavy.
It was. The day that we were presented with that, I think everybody that was there kind of had shell shock because they had brought in their managers that they had at all these different locations and some of the mid-level managers that they had. So everybody left that day kind of disoriented and like, what's going on? This is crazy. As great of an opportunity as some of us have been presented with, it was just a lot to ingest. So I remember within a few days, he and I go to Buffalo Wild Wings and we're sitting there having some beers talking about this.
Shout out Monday Brother Nights.
Yeah, before family and before life before life hit hyperspeed.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. It was great while it lasted. Yeah, we used to do that every single Monday night. That was our thing. We go and kind of decompress and talk about business, talk about just whatever baseball.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're at Buffalo Wild Wings one night, and I remember, he and I were talking. And I said, we're best friends. He and I have been boys since day one. Awesome. We're 4 years apart. We're best friends first. And I didn't want this in whatever path it took to jeopardize or screw up the relationship he and I had as brothers. Mm-hmm. So I said, I was like, I know what happens in some businesses when you go into partnerships together, whether it's your best friend, a family member, or somebody that you just met. Mm-hmm. It's all roses when you start, but things can blow up. Mm-hmm. And if this ever comes between us being best buds, I'm out. I will bail because to preserve that, to save that, I'll go work somewhere else. But it couldn't have ended up farther from the truth. I think we talk about
made you closer, probably.
It did. Yep. Yeah. Way closer. Huh. We were best friends before, but being in the trenches together and making decisions and strategizing and navigating all of this for a decade.
I think one of the fun things is too, just naturally, you're a brother. You know what makes that individual tick. You know, hot buttons,
100%.
you know, things to pick your battles,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I know
Where do I
if
use
we're
tact?
talking about something and it's Danny's call, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, same thing with me. And we understand each other so incredibly well that 10 years into it, knock on wood, but we have not had any extreme disagreements with anything.
Do you think you guys were finally in tune to that stuff really early, or it's gone even more in tune to after you guys have been in business together at this capacity?
I think definitely after.
After.
You know?
Yeah.
Also, he and I were both so young that we never really had an opportunity to like work with each other before we were business owners.
Yeah.
But just naturally in the maturation process, as you grow, perspective changes and maturity levels change.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This story is like giving me chills because my younger brother, we're 2 years apart, but we have been like best friends inseparable our entire life. So you guys remind me so much of us. It's crazy.
Did you watch wrestling growing up too?
No, we didn't. We're not as
Did
cool.
you didn't throw him off the top bunk like he did to me?
Yeah, not quite as much testosterone as you guys, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't have the beard and stuff. I'm not that cool. But we always fought and stuff, of course, like legit fist fights and all that stuff. But then it ended once. Like I remember one point that ended. We just like fought the hell out of each other, and then we never fought again. And like we still haven't since then. But like my biggest regret in life is that there was this point in life where I was just really down mentally, really bad, like depressed. And that drove us apart enough that he moved to a different state. And to this day, I'm like, we should have been fucking business partners, and we should have been, because we're like so cohesive. Who else do you trust more than each other?
Yeah.
Yep.
Zero, bro. I don't trust anybody more than my brother.
Tate brothers, man. They're like,
I actually
they're in
heard
jail together.
Yeah.
But dude, I actually heard Andrew. I called my brother with this.
They're out.
They're out now. Yeah.
I called my brother with this because Andrew Tate was being interviewed, and if anybody doesn't like me for liking him, I don't care. But Andrew Tate said, someone's like, "Wow, are you scared of like how out there you are and things can get bad?" He's like, "Dude, I know no matter how bad things get, they put me in prison, whatever. I always got my brother."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Shit, it's so true."
Yeah, so good.
That's a road dog right there.
Yeah, I know. But for real, then I called my brother after that, and he's like, "I saw the same thing, dude." And I was like, that's the one thing I think about probably on a weekly basis that I'm like,
It's never too late.
yeah, but it's tough now
It's
because
tougher,
he's thousands of miles away. I have 2, about to have 3 kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just gets to a point where it's,
Are you guys at a good place again?
oh, for sure. We were never at a bad place. It was just like I was distracted.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
From that relationship, I was distracted from.
Tyson, do you have siblings?
Yeah, I'm a lot younger. So my sister is 14 years older than I am. My brother's 13 years older than I am. My brother and I look very similar like you guys. I mean, stature.
Super sexy.
My body's a little tighter still than his. He's a little older. If he's listening, no offense. But I'm saying like people will mistake us all the time for each other. No hair, all that stuff. But we never grew up together, so I didn't have any of that.
You're right, because he would have been high school out of high school when you were in grade school.
I essentially had 2 sets of parents, but I had a lot more access to my sister and brother because they're my brother and sister. And so it's just a little bit different dynamic.
Oh, so your brother and sister are almost like another set of parents.
For quite a while in my life, the first probably 7 to 10 years, and more of like good mentor-mentee relationship growing up versus chumming it up, So I never had that specifically with them, and they're just because they're a lot older. But I do have my best friend that I met in the Marine Corps.
I was about to say you have Marine brothers.
Yeah. Him and I are like brothers, and he and I meeting each other in boot camp. End up having the same exact birthday with the same age.
That's crazy.
Wild, like brothers from another mother. He's an adopted child of our family, basically, and so he's a great. That's kind of a similarity that we have.
Yeah.
Could you imagine going into business or doing anything business related with him?
Actually, it's funny. When he went through a kind of tough transition in his life, he moved in with us for a month and a half or so, and moved from the East Coast in with us. And I made an introduction for him, and he actually ended up going to work with this guy that in real estate that he was doing in New Orleans. Almost put down.
Oh, this is your buddy in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we both are in real estate now, and both own investment properties and stuff. So I think there's just a matter of time until we do.
Yep.
Especially, I don't know if we could have done it early on because I think we both had some ego. I mean, I'll say I have ego issues at times. But then now that we've matured and things, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be really cool. A lot of respect. A lot of I don't know. It kind of gives me a hope of like, man, what would that even be like?
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
I think for people that haven't worked with a best friend or worked with a brother, you're always like, man, I would love to work with one of my best friends. I would love to do this. I would love to do that. And then we get to live it.
Yeah, that's cool.
We're super fortunate. Not only are we business partners, but we're also brothers and we're best friends.
Do you guys,
It's
can
really
you guys
cool.
turn it off? Does it ever not work and it's just
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bro. Yeah.
easy?
Yeah.
That's good.
I was gonna we finish each other's sentences. Actually,
do we just become best friends?
Yeah. But like, for example, we both love golfing.
Uh-huh.
We golf not as much as we would like, but it's kind of a rule of thumb. You know, we could both have a day from hell
Yeah.
on a weekday, and then if we go to league or something
Yeah.
like that,
Good go.
there's no work talk
That's awesome.
whatsoever. We talk baseball, we talk golf, whatever it is.
I think there's also a sixth sense that he and I both have that before, like, you can just sense, like,
Totally.
he's not going to want to talk about this right now, even if you do,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
But even if we could be back home in our small town in our hometown in Iowa, and on a Saturday drinking at 1 a.m, and that could also be the perfect time to talk about work. Like, you never know.
Let me take some notes. I'm going to forget this in the morning. That's awesome. So what have you guys – so you guys said the first 10 years working in the business or for the business. Now you're working
Were you
on
working
the business.
in it as well?
So that was one thing neither of us really dovetailed into. I'll tell my side and then Danny can tell his.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college for 2 years at Iowa State, spring, freshman, sophomore year. I can't remember the exact years. And when I went to college at Iowa State, I worked at Best Buy and sold home theater equipment. Like I loved it. I was really good at it. That was an easy job to have where you could be passionate about if it's a hobby of yours. And a girl that I was dating at the time, I ended up moving back to Omaha, and then ended up working at the Best Buy, actually just right up the street, Village Point. Yeah. And for the longest time, Danny was saying, hey, we need sales reps. You should come and sell. And just in my mind, I'm like, I know nothing about windows. I know nothing about doors. I'm selling cool home theater equipment. Meanwhile, I'm making $8.38 an hour, selling my soul, selling my soul.
Yeah.
And then it just finally got to the point. Honestly, the icing on the cake for me was I went in for a review, and I'd been with Best Buy for like almost 4 full years at this point. And because I transitioned from a different store and this whole corporate thing, they were going to give me a raise where it's pretty much less than what new people they were hiring for. So somebody knew off the streets that they would start out higher than what I was making because of corporate limitations. And so I remember that day I ended up calling Danny. I was like,
let's do it, man. Let's link
where
some
do I
windows
sign?
up.
Where do I sign?
Only like
So that's my story. And then I started selling. April of 2010 was my first full month and just loved it.
Yeah.
When you're a people person and if you have the salesmanship bone in your body, you can sell anything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I credit the staff that we have now, the sales staff that we have now, are an extension of both of our personalities.
Yeah.
Our entire staff, I think we deliberately try to make an extension of our own personalities. But
yeah, that's part of your culture, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. It's everything with our culture. But when it comes to sales, has a inherently sleazy connotation around it. The word sales, but that's not who we are. It's not who he is. So I think that is one thing that sets us apart, our company and our sales approach, and just the interactions we have with customers. We focus on relationships and not transactions, because there's a big difference between the two. But that's all him.
Yeah.
I was super excited to have him.
Yeah.
I knew he was getting just getting screwed at Best Buy, and he could sell anything.
Yeah.
So when he came over, I was pumped because it's my best friend.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
I was on the back end doing. I graduated from Iowa State with an MIS degree, so management information systems. You're probably 80% of people that graduate with a degree like that, they're acting as in a maybe kind of a liaison position between developing and programming and management.
Okay.
Kind of that link between the two.
Operation heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm analytical. I love breaking things down and putting them back together in ways that make sense. I like dissecting things and understanding things. So I started with a website overhaul, just improved a lot of our internal processes, helped out with that, then got involved in the back end with the finances, the books. And that's really where, I kind of found home base. And when we started the buyout process, we actually started managing the stores that we had before we took ownership. We probably ran the stores for 2 or 3 years prior to owning them.
2 years, yeah.
2 years. And kind of out of necessity, we had to let go of, or we just, we lost the people that we had in our, heading our bookkeeping department.
Yeah.
So somebody had to do it. And, you talk about trust. You guys brought up the word trust a little while ago. I don't trust anybody more than I trust him. And that's mutual. And I think, man, with your company books, you better have somebody in there who's got a pulse on things and who knows what's going on
for sure
daily. And so we didn't have any of that. I hated accounting when I was in school.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely loathed it, and kind of stepped into that and just figured it out.
Yeah.
And I love it now because your books tell the story of your company.
Totally right.
Yeah, the whole saying numbers don't lie is so freaking true.
Yeah.
It's nerdy, but it tells the
I'm a
story.
big tracker and analytical guy too. I feel like you're not.
I'm not.
No, and I definitely am. I love the numbers too, but
I'm the action guy. I like to go. Let's get moving. I have vision. I'll figure that out. I'll get there. I'll just not be analytically.
I think that's important, though. You talk about strengths and weaknesses. When you have a team, it's difficult if both of you guys are the same personality, same type.
Usually doesn't work
because then you butt heads.
Right? No, it would. Yeah, for sure.
And he and I both complement each other in many different ways that it works out very, very well that way.
For sure.
At least we think so.
Yeah.
So you guys have two stores?
3.
3? Where are they all?
Omaha, Wichita, Kansas, and then Springfield, Missouri.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, I thought it was St. Joe. Nice. Okay.
No, so
that's the newest one, right?
It is, yeah. So Omaha and Wichita, that was part of our parents' original franchise group. And then Window World Corporate reached out to us in late 2018 and said, hey, there's an opportunity to buy the Window World in Springfield, and we think you guys would be a good fit for it.
Oh, that's cool.
So we jumped on it.
Close enough, too. Yeah.
It actually makes like a really perfect triangle with Omaha, Wichita, and Springfield.
How much time do you spend at the stores individually?
Me, not so much. A lot of the stuff I do, I
remote
do from Omaha.
Yeah.
He's there a ton. He rebuilt. I give him all the credit in the world. We had basically a gut job on our hands in the Springfield location when we took that
Just
one.
Just dilapidated store and stuff, or what?
The owner was dealing with some health issues, the husband, and they also lived in Oklahoma City, and so this was a remote store for them in the first place. And I just think it kind of turned into a runaway train for them at the end. And
slipping.
Yeah, so when we went down there, we tried to salvage what we could, and ultimately it ended up being. I mean, we flipped just about every facet of it that you can think of, but he lived down there virtually, half of a full year.
That's typically the bulk of, if the stores are up and running, doing everything that they need to, I typically go down once a month, once a quarter. But if I'm training anybody, you gotta be there. You live down there.
Yeah.
But also they're super easy drives, 5.5 to Springfield, 5 to Wichita. I like the drives around some podcasts.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Soon to be on the dock is this one.
Yeah. This is play your own podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God, you sound like an idiot on the radio, man.
It's true.
Well, hey, funny question. Do you guys like let's call it your voices that you hear? Do they match what you think you sound like in your head?
I've been doing video content, audio content for literally a decade, so I'm so used to it. I don't even notice it. So it doesn't bother me at all because I just kind of know exactly what I'm going to sound like. So it doesn't bother me at all. The one thing that bothered me about 2 years ago is I learned to turn off all video on my video content and just listen. And I was like, God, I'm so stupid at how I'm talking and all my little nuances I do with my voice. That bothered me. And then turning off audio and just watching video, I was like, why am I doing all these little nervous habits and stuff? I'm picking up my shoe and what am I doing? You know what I mean? That bothered me, but then I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to be myself. I'm not worry about it. Just going to be how I really am.
You're always your own worst critic.
Yeah, totally. But I'm so used to it now, it doesn't bother me. Does it bother you at all? Or not? I also don't really watch my own stuff.
Yeah.
At all. So I don't really know.
I have done a few podcasts now and done a lot of the stuff we do for social media. That stuff doesn't bother me as much, but when I was doing the long form content, I was really taken aback by where I thought I had inflection in my voice versus where I actually had inflection in my voice, was it's very odd to me. I was like, that is not how could somebody take away anything from like the cadence of the way I was talking. And so it was just different. I'm a pretty animated person by nature. And
What did your wife say about your face?
Oh, she goes, your face has closed captions. And I'm like, well, that's pretty sure. You're going to know if you're okay in my world pretty quick by the frown or the smile on my face.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious.
So, but I mean, I think that's really important is to be authentic. I mean, you can definitely polish up your craft, but I think you want your personality and how you are presented, or else you don't get anything real.
Listen, on that similar note, just about if we're hiring for, I would say primarily sales reps for our sales positions, very rarely, if ever, will we interview. I'll typically have a conversation with somebody on the phone to feel them out first. Mm-hmm. And if I think they're a good candidate, never bring them into the office. We'll go to Buffalo Wild Wings just to get in a casual, easy, non-stuffy situation to exactly reiterate your point. It's like get people comfortable and see how they are when they're not trying to put on a show. They're not trying to be somebody they're not. Because you can fake an interview pretty easily.
Super easily.
You just want to see what they're like naturally.
Yeah.
Talking with you guys, staff, and you guys sounds like you had to do quite a bit of turnover on a lot of the different facets. What have you learned from the first two stores you're doing, the growth and evolution of Wichita and Omaha to changing some things and revamping to Missouri?
One thing that I'll say is I'm not a guarded person by nature.
Right.
I'm very trusting. I also read people well. I suck at a whole lot of things, but I'm good at reading people. And so
except in poker.
Except at poker. I'm not a good card player. I'm not a gambler. Wish I was. But I'm not I don't get fooled too often. And we've gotten fooled a few times. And that was humbling, because I'm sitting here in my own head like, nah, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this right.
Yeah.
And we've gotten burned by a couple of people that were true proficient con artists.
Wow.
Interesting. Probably sociopaths. But that was one thing that was kind of humbling, but in a good way. And
lesson, right?
It was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
I think if you're in business long enough in an ownership or management position, it's really hard to not develop some level of paranoia, like at least a slight level of, if it's
skepticism, just guard.
Yeah, just a little guarded because you're trying to protect something. You're trying to protect a brand. You're trying to protect something you've built. So I think early on we were probably maybe not as cognizant of certain things that, you get slapped and scuffed up a couple of times. You don't do it again. But by the time we got to Springfield, I think he and I both, the first two stores it was 7, 8 years of, it was really tough. It took a toll on us, on our personal lives. And professionally, it was a lot. And I think we looked at that like, okay, this is a great opportunity. But we knew the work that was going to be involved in it. And he, again, all the credit, he did 90% of that store overhaul, because he was the one that restaffed it and trained in person and showed everybody the new processes. But I still think that by the time we got to that Springfield location, we had a blueprint. We knew exactly what that needed to look like.
If that was your first store, it would have been a disaster.
It was tough, because that's baptism by fire. The first time around, man, you like the amount of times we redid things.
That didn't work. Next,
like scrap that. Like we're gonna start over on that. By the time we got to Springfield, it wasn't an issue of not knowing how to do it or how to go about it. It was like the daunting part, I think, especially for Bryce, and he could speak to it, but I would assume was we're doing this again. Just the straight up workload. It wasn't like we don't know how to do this. It was knowing the workload that was going to be involved.
Yeah.
One thing that did help, Springfield and Wichita are eerily similar. We have one salesperson, one office staff, 2 install teams. So if you talk about a blueprint, we have a blueprint that works very well in Wichita, provided the right people are in place. So we had to try our best to mimic and replicate that in Springfield. But we say all the time, anytime we hire anybody, our guards are up throughout the interview process because our businesses are us and they're an extension of our family. You really do have to let your guard down to allow somebody to come in and work for your company.
Totally.
And we've been burned many, many times. So the hard part, we joke around all the time. There's two things that we hate in this business: it's hiring and firing people.
Yeah.
And I dislike hiring more than I dislike firing, because you have to go through that entire vetting process, and
no matter how good your vetting process is, you never really
hope
know.
they work out.
Right.
Crazy, yeah.
And we've been let down. And so it's like, as Danny said, here we go again. We got to go through this whole song and dance again to interview. Hopefully we get really good applicants.
Yeah.
They interview well, and then we hire them. We hope they can learn well and train fast and stuff like that. Doesn't always work out that way, but we've been pretty fortunate.
The intangibles are hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really
You know what I mean? I did, my parents own a bunch of restaurants, and they didn't when I was growing up, but they were always in restaurants. So when I turned 18, I started running restaurants. And I was thinking about this a couple months ago. I probably hired a total of 400 people over my career there. And what I learned through all that is you never know.
Literally,
No matter-
it's 50-50.
Yeah.
No matter, probably, I don't even know maybe it is 50-50, but I remember so many times I would hire out of desperation, and I'd be like, oh, God, I know this person isn't going to work out.
Yep.
But you had to fill up.
And I'd hire them, and they would kill it.
They crush it.
And you're like, what?
You get surprised.
It's almost like your
They did.
expectations are so low, they're easy to exceed.
And then they'd be become a manager and work their way up. And I was like, what? And then sometimes I'm like, this guy's got it.
Yep.
He's going to crush. And he's lazy, doesn't do anything.
In
And I'm
there,
like, what the
man.
hell?
Yes.
Yeah. And so after a while, I was just I'd be so over it. And I'm hiring more it was more volume for restaurants. So it wasn't a super important hire, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'd be if they were if I was super excited about them, I'd almost be I probably shouldn't hire them.
Yep.
That's my new mental state. And I did all these trainings and have them take all these exams and personality tests. And I just never found the thing. And the more I got into it, the more I was you're just going to gamble no matter what.
Yep.
You do all the things to get out the crazy people, get out the psychotic people. You can filter through some of that. But after that,
That's something
roll the dice.
that's really interesting, because for the first, 5 or 6 or 7 years, handful of years, me personally, I took everything professionally and work related so personally.
yeah.
If a vendor was upset, if a customer was upset, if an office member was upset, because again, it's your baby and it's your business, that you think
Feels like it's you.
that they don't like you, and it's taken time, but I no longer it really sucks if you hire somebody and they're going to be the
Yeah, they're
bomb,
gonna crash.
and then they're terrible,
Yeah.
right? You're firing them the second day. I've learned to not take that aspect personal anymore. Whereas in the past, I'd probably get down on myself and, God, why did I make an idiot hire?
Yeah.
But I think we're all old enough now, and we've been at it long enough to know people that you can get blinded pretty easily, because they can
People are good.
fake it. Yeah.
I actually learned, anybody here ever watched the show The Traders?
No.
The what?
Best show of all time.
What?
Okay?
Really?
It's called
Never-
The Traders.
never even heard of
I'm
it.
so into this show, it's not even funny.
Where's it? What?
It's on Peacock.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's one of those rare shows on a random. Yeah, Peacock's random to me.
Is it a currently playing show?
Yeah, it just finished.
Okay.
By the way, Entourage is the greatest show of all time.
You haven't seen The Traders yet.
Okay.
No, you don't know.
Hold my beer.
Entourage is a great show. But The Traders is a reality TV show, but they have a group of, I want to say, 50 people-ish. Half of them are famous people, half of them are random people. They all start off the day in a circle, and the guy who hosts it picks 3 of them to be traders in the group. No one knows who it is, okay?
Like a mole.
As the viewers, you know who the traders are.
Traitors.
The traders, yeah.
Got it.
Not trading, they're
Yeah.
a trader.
Yep.
Yeah. So as the viewers, you know who the traders are, but no one else there does. And if there's anything I learned from that show, you guys should definitely watch it, so I won't say anything else about it. It's that no one knows when people are lying. No one. All these people in the show keep thinking they got it. I know exactly who it is. They did this little thing. All these little things they think they know.
Oh yeah.
And no one was ever right on the show. It was crazy to watch. I was like, I had an epiphany watching, and I was like, people don't know when people are lying.
Yep.
People have no clue.
Yep.
Did you just kind of lose faith in humanity after watching?
Dude, I did. I lose faith in people. I lose faith in people saying they can tell when someone's lying 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I know when someone's lying, because they did this whole show,
And then they get fooled.
and they never knew. Or they ended up catching one of them. That's it. In this whole show,
And they just
basically.
skate through.
Kind of. The ending is way different. Like it's the way they ended is pretty cool. But yeah, it just got renewed for another season. And I was like, yes.
I'll have to check that out.
It was the most like I don't really get into TV shows that much.
But the human psychology aspect.
yeah, I got
love- yeah, that's
into
fat.
this
Yeah,
show
yeah.
big time. I was like into this show. It was super cool. Anyways, you should watch it. But that show made me realize I was like, and it reminded me of hiring people. I was like, yeah, you never know.
Well, you went through a lot of it when your parents had the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you were in that position, and
Yep.
you control the controllables as best you can,
Yep.
and then you prepare, like use 80% of your energy to prepare for that unknown stuff. That, all right.
My dad always said hire slow, fire fast. Like you said, second day you get rid of them. That's like what you have to do, kind of.
I almost
Pretty quick.
I almost though to the same cadences. You can do all the prep work, take the personality test, but I mean, you probably are just as good just on your gut feeling, getting one good conversation with them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like for example, Bryce and I met through a mutual friend, and I'm like, just good vibe, good juju.
Yeah,
Like,
your cocaine dealer?
Yeah, the bad guy, the cocaine dealer. We were there to meet the mob. I'm sorry I said that online, but you just get a good vibe. I could hang out with that person.
Totally,
I could learn something from that person. They glean knowledge or professionalism. You can kind of tell that right away. Versus like, well, let's go through the rigmarole. I gotta have you take this personality test. I mean, that to me at times I'm just like, because I've hired a handful of people and done performance evaluations in the military and stuff like that. And you're just like, I'm pretty sure I would have been just as good. Say, no, you're not.
I can tell there's something off about
something
you.
off,
Yeah.
Well, and you think about it too, we're all professionals. We're at the age now where you, much like us, we get introduced through other people.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, you're in high school. You got your
like a
group.
filter.
You got your group of 5 guys, and then you get a job after college. And now you've got 15 guys, and your group expands.
Yeah.
But you always encounter a friend of somebody that you're friends with.
Right.
But that's all they are, because you go up to them and you're like, it's not a good vibe. Like I definitely, if this individual wasn't here to bring us both together, I wouldn't kick it with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. No,
like-
that's true. Yeah.
like-
That's a weird feeling.
And then they
But
go
it
to the
happens
bathroom,
a lot.
And you're like,
and you're like,
how do I get out of this?
when this over?
Yeah.
That's
But
kinda-
that's that thing. Like
That's kind of how I feel right now.
they might have crushed it in a personality test.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yes.
they're pushing this persona as to who they want to be, not necessarily who they are at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or who they
That's
want
true.
you to think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really true.
Curious is, being entrepreneurs and then business owners where you guys are right now, when you guys, I mean, is it still full go on the weekend too? Are you guys able to just like, hey, it's
good
Friday.
question.
Hey, I have family time. I have hobbies, friends. I'll come back to that on Monday. Or does it carry over quite a bit?
You want to start?
Are you guys open on the weekends?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, Saturdays.
right.
A couple
Saturdays.
hours.
I keep kind of weird hours. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't have a family right now, so I'll come in later and work later.
You open up for blind dates? Or is that what you need to be on the lookout for?
Speed dating.
I'm still licking some wounds, but soon, maybe.
So is Dana. It's okay.
Dana just looking at moons too. Get in another podcast.
We'll do another.
We'll do a side podcast later.
Yeah,
There's a matchmakers one right down there.
yeah. No, I'm there for half of the day that while people are there, and then I've got, and this is not preferred. Like I genuinely want to and need to get my schedule adjusted, but the way, honestly, candidly, the way it is right now, I'm there with the staff for like half of the time I'm there, and then I've got the evening where it's quiet and I can just hammer through stuff.
Why is that bad?
When no one's around? I just don't want that schedule, that daily routine. I've never been a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl through and through by nature, and so that I do in my mind. I'm at my sharpest like later on.
Yeah.
But that's not super conducive to being a business owner, being in small business. I want to you want to have as much time as you can with your staff.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not blow my nights at the office.
Yeah.
But to your question, there's a lot of times where if I don't have to be somewhere, especially in the wintertime when it's cold out, I'll go in on Saturday and just knock some stuff out, and it's chill. There's nobody around. You can get a ton of stuff done.
Can.
I used to say
Focus
you can get more done from 5 to 8 p.m. than you can from 8 to 5, because there's nobody. Yeah, there's
It's
no
like
phone
the whole
calls.
working on your business instead of in it.
Yeah,
It's one of those deals. Yeah, agreed.
I think me personally, unless I have to go out and meet an installer or a sales rep or something like that on a weekend, there's not a whole lot of things that really force me to do that. But
you've got family. Yeah,
that's, and there's once you become a parent, home is almost, you look forward to it, because if you do have a stressful day and shit's hitting the fan and you're dealing with things left and right, going home and seeing a 3.5-year-old little girl and a 1-year-old little girl, they don't know what your day was like.
Yeah.
But you get to go home.
Is that how old your kids are?
Yeah.
Same age as mine. That's crazy. What's up, dude?
My man.
my man.
Welcome to life. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny, dude.
So it's a good letdown.
Yeah.
Walking in that door.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I will say sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes for me, it's actually the opposite. It'll be like, I'll be like, not the opposite, but I'll be like stressed out. My wife stay at home, so it's like stressed out, doing all the stuff. My mind's still on it a little bit. And then I'll come in and I'll be like, oh, now I got to do all these little routines and I got to help and I got to be the person here. Sometimes it's not a letdown. Sometimes it's more like a continuation for me.
And don't get me wrong.
Just try to shut it off, to shut it off.
Yeah, and don't get me COVID. Okay. Thankfully, I
What's
didn't.
that? Just kidding.
Thankfully, I didn't have grade school kids.
Yeah,
that had to be homeschooled.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because I have friends that did that, and they couldn't wait to get the hell out of the house.
Right. Yeah.
They wanted to. That's I was gonna talk about water cooler.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't realize how much you miss hopping into somebody's office and talking to them for 5 minutes until you can't do it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But
God,
I think
that's
a lot
true.
of businesses also realized how much people are capable of getting done when they don't have water cooler talk.
Yeah.
And how efficient they can be when they're at home with no
110%.
distractions than everything else.
It's just fascinating how much pros and cons of those scenarios where it's like, okay, so now we're not in the office. Now, said employee can hide a little bit. It looks like you might be pretty productive, but then really there's no really oversight. But then you bring them back to the office, like, are you working at all? Like, I got it all done already. I was like, oh, we need to pile more stuff on your plate then.
Yep.
It's fascinating like that.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've tried to do, because I think with real estate, sometimes it can kind of just go on forever unless you stop it through the day.
Totally. Yeah.
If I'm going home, my goal at times is, one, my wife stays at home as well. And I was like, okay, hey, I can't stop giving what I've already given to everybody else today when I go home. They deserve just as much as me as anybody else, if not more. So I really try hard. I mean, one, crossing the threshold into my house, you can't say, hey, don't come get me yet, kids. Don't ask me to help yet, my wife, whatever.
Give me an hour.
Yeah, you don't get that.
Crack a beer out of the fridge.
Yeah, right.
I'll see you in an
Yeah,
hour.
thanks for set the dinner up. That's all good. But what I do try to do is, if I need to, I'll take 5 minutes, decompress, quiet, or it's just some music, or turn on a song or something that I know can kind of flip my mind away from this. And if I need to, if there's a couple text messages shoot off, I will not be hanging over me. That way, it's not distracting dinner. But I'm able to come into the house with a refreshed attitude towards who I'm, being in front of. Well, that's helped a ton.
That's I have a legit question for all three of you guys, and Tyson, you kind of started it. I don't have a family. You guys do. I value and need some downtime, some alone time. Just to sit around and think and to decompress and whatever. And I don't mind being alone.
Yeah.
When you have a family, you're
It's tough.
It's not your call, really, in a lot of ways,
You're
I
right.
would assume. So for each one of you guys, what do you do? Like, what's the thing that you make sure you do every day that's like just yours?
I don't.
Really?
I'm going to be honest.
Well, in our
I really-
family,
not every day.
My wife always jokes. She's like, "No one poops alone in our house," because like kids are everywhere all the time. Young kids. Like, no, doors are always open. Wait, you don't do anything?
Even if they're closed, they
You
get
don't-
opened
they
up
don't get them
anyway.
open.
They
man.
don't open the doors, yeah.
Daddy, here you go.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Privacy,
buddy.
please.
Or like,
Shut the door.
I don't think I have
the
something
mechanism
every
you
day.
have to maintain your sanity. Not that your family is like making you insane, but you know what I mean.
No,
Well, let
100%.
me
You go, yeah.
For me, for example, get home. I typically get home at 6. My wife, she's dinner is close to being. She picks up the girls and gets home before I do, so she starts that process. We eat dinner, dishes, playtime. 7 o'clock if it's bath night, then we take baths, and then that process that is bedtime.
It's the most beautiful
From
process.
7 until maybe some nights 9 o'clock. There is no making sure we do something. I think for my wife, Jules, it's whatever free time we have after the girls go down. Then it's quiet time.
Yeah.
And
100%. Now that you're saying that, same here.
We're so busy. You get to work first thing, you work all day, you come home. There is no breather.
Yeah.
There is literally no breather until that last door closes and stays shut. That then you can just like.
That is the time.
And you guys are about 2 years apart away from that. My daughter's 6, almost 7. Once you hit about 4.5, 5, when they're pretty much not necessarily independent, but they can kind of self-contain for an hour, watch a show, play by themselves, whatever.
Yep.
That's when we notice, my wife and I,
a little more freedom.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Every house we've lived in, we have a designated like room where there's no TV. It's just a couple of chairs, and that's kind of the hey, we're gonna go in there, have a glass of wine together, or coffee in the morning, whatever that time is. But allows us to kind of recheck it. Hey, this is just a conversation.
I love that.
How's your day? The room is primed for just kind of relaxation in terms of, hey, my focus is on you. Phones are away. Daughter's within earshot. She knows we're okay, and we're just kind of checking in. Yeah. And we haven't had that. We have a 1.5-year-old now, so we haven't had that for a while. But that was really good. So I encourage you guys to do that.
Hard workouts too. Yeah, like especially early morning.
I work out in the morning. I work out at 5:30, 4 days a week. That's huge. So that is actually I'm a morning person, and to me mentally, I'm a big fan of getting action early. And so when that happens for me, I've already hit multiple wins. I'm up before the sun. I beat the sun up out of bed. I already engaged and moved my body. I'm already thinking about the rest of the day and how I can be better because I've already done something in the morning. So that's really big for me.
I 100% agree. If I work out, and I don't do it every morning.
No, yeah.
And that's because like if I don't work out or do it at 5:30, I can't do it. Because then it's
missed your window.
Everybody's awake. Yeah. Got to get everything going, and then you got to get in the office. Got to get shit going for work.
Yep.
So for me, if I'm not working by 5:30, it's over at that point.
Yeah.
But if I do that, those are my best days.
Yeah, for
by
sure.
far.
And my ability to be mentally engaged for the entire day
on point,
exponentially more.
I've told him the exact. I work out in the mornings too, and I've told Danny.
We'll get you there, Danny.
It's
gonna happen.
I haven't seen a gym for a decade. I don't think. That's honest. I'm just being honest.
The only time it's been dark in the gym is at night, and I've been there.
But no, it's if I don't, and depending on how long you've done it, it's like that's my coffee in the morning.
Yep.
If I don't exercise or work out in the morning, I can have 30 energy drinks. There's nothing that replicates getting your body going. And like kind of to your point, Tyson, you're sharper at 8 o'clock in the morning than you are at any point in time throughout the day after getting the workouts done.
To your point, Danny, if I work out the night before, I feel the same as if I work out in the morning, personally. If I do a really hard workout at night and I pass out first off because you just sleep so good because you just worked out so hard.
Yeah,
I feel just as sharp in the morning if I do that.
Really?
So if I do one or the other, but nighttime's just hard now. I used to only work out at nights because I'm a little bit more of a night owl too. I used to only work out I would go to work out like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 every night. Every single night. That's what I would do. Gym's empty. Yep. I would plug into the gym stereo. I wasn't supposed to. Plug into it and play our speakers, and I would just go work out in the gym and have the music going.
I remember doing that in college.
Yeah. It's because I didn't have family.
Night workouts were nice. I didn't remember that in college too. I couldn't do that today.
Nothing like taking pre-workout at 1 a.m.
Just
jazzed
wired. Oh, my skin is so tingling.
But I would do that, and I would feel the same off of that versus early mornings. But now I just, for my life, I have to do it.
I do think it's important. It's a great question in the sense that if you can't answer it, or at least you're not contemplating it, you're probably missing the boat.
Yep.
Because it is something as a growth of being a leader that is extremely important to be able to work on yourself and be hyper aware of your own self, that what you need to feel the engine.
Totally.
I think that's a great question.
My best buddy's he's got a lawn care business out in
right here
in the Des Moines area.
Best buddy.
Another buddy.
I
know. Yeah.
No, I'm the real best.
We gotta talk.
It's another
ride or
buddy.
die. Good.
Hey, shout out Bryce.
So this guy he was my age and my school buddy, best friend.
Yeah.
Since we were 4. Sorry about that. So he's got a lawn care business out in the Des Moines area, and he's in the 4th year of it, so it's still pretty early on, and that's everything's happening at lightning speed. He's got 2 kids and a wife, and he just doesn't have a lot of time to himself. Like like all you guys, anybody who's got a family.
Yeah.
You know,
tough.
you don't get a lot of free time.
You throw kids with sports in there. It's
Sports,
my
yeah.
God.
Oh, dude, I can't even
Not
imagine.
looking
and
forward to
they're of that
Me
age,
either.
you know, so they're running kids all over for athletics and everything. And we had a chat, and I could tell that he was just running on fumes. And I was like, do this. I was like, where do you eat every day?
Yeah.
Do you eat with your crews when you're out and about? I was like, if you don't do anything else, go to Subway and sit by yourself and just like tune out. Don't put your headphones in.
No.
Don't listen to music. Just like sit down and breathe and think. Or don't think.
Yeah.
But just like just have some serenity, some quiet, some
Right.
you time, because like you'd be surprised how much you can recharge yourself
That-
in 20 minutes when you're not talking to people, when you don't have
Great
stimuli.
I do that every day, no matter what.
And
too.
actually, that you said,
In the
I
car.
do that
I do it in the car.
way more often than I thought I did. Yeah.
There's a funny picture, and I saved it on it showed up on my time hop from a year ago, and it was a meme, and it was something like, does the workday ever hit your ass so hard that you drive home with the volume on mute the whole way home?
Yes.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then you don't even realize that you got back. You're like, I got back.
Or it's
somehow.
it's on the Spanish channel. You don't even realize.
don't even realize it.
How are they always stuck here?
Or it's one of those things where you're driving and you totally forget about what you just traveled past.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you don't even know
10
how you
minutes.
got to your
Blacked
house.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
But I hope I paid attention, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What are you guys looking forward to most? Like, you guys just opened Springfield. What's next for the Window World stuff?
We're closing them. We're closing them down. We're done.
No, I
Now that you ask.
I think convincingly at the present time, there are no ambitions or desires or wishes to grow our footprint anymore.
That's interesting.
With another market.
With another market, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Expand where you're at.
family wise, it's hard to travel. It's hard to be gone.
Yep.
And me personally, and our family, we're not to the point yet where it's athletics and stuff like that every weekend and every weeknight that as a father, like you want to be there.
Right.
So that's something that's really going to have an impact on that. But I think just with where we're at professionally, and where we are, we'd rather try and be as proficient and as good with the stores that we have rather than stretching ourselves thin
Totally smart.
and opening up other markets.
So you know there's still more sunshine out there to get in terms of market share.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think too, in our industry, and be curious to hear what you guys have to say. We got a buddy that we just talked to on the commercial side. I feel like our industry is kind of just now over the past 3-4 months finally starting to normalize a little bit from a consumer spending standpoint, from a supply chain standpoint. It was absolutely bonkers.
Oh, I bet it was
for
brutal.
a year and a half. Stuff that normally would take 2 weeks was taking 4, 5, 6 months.
Longer than that.
Yeah, longer than that
Yeah,
in
but
some
it's,
cases.
the whole gamut.
And so, I think on the front side of COVID, you had like our economy people were spending money like it was
Lighting it on fire.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Literally.
insane. Money
It was weird.
People were free, and we benefited from that, like a lot of businesses did. And we talked about it. We're like, there's going to be an equal and opposing force on the back end of this, and that's what I thought. And I said, this isn't going to last. This is great right now, but our industry will have its challenges sooner than later. And
And it did, huh?
yeah, it did. I think we saw the COVID hangover, an economic one anyway. Probably from most of 2022, a large part of 2022 was
Started
pretty
December
rough.
of 21.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of 2022 was rough, and that's when a lot of supply chain stuff started. I'm sorry, not then. Q3 into Q4 of 2022, I feel like is when a lot of the supply chain stuff started to kind of normalize. Their orders got smaller, demand got a little bit lighter, and now we're in this weird, kind of going back to your question, like what's next? I'm thinking not like big picture life goal stuff yet. I'm like, I want to see what this looks like when we really do get back to kind of what somewhat resembles a baseline again.
Yeah.
Because it's been so
That's true.
up and down and crazy. Like, kind of need to reestablish what the baseline is and see what that looks like.
Isolate 2021 and 22 and just throw it
Throw it away. It's never
Analytics are irrelevant from that.
Yeah, you can't use that's true. I would agree 100%.
Similar with real estate, yeah.
Yeah, we are established.
However, we've been talking about this constantly. All the experts, everybody was saying 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, every single year was going to be the biggest crash we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're in the biggest boom we've ever seen in our freaking lives.
Yeah, 2021 was the biggest year. 22 is the second biggest year. And they're going to say 2023 will be the third biggest year of real estate they've ever had.
I think it's going to be bigger than last year.
Now, you're talking...
From anecdotally.
But you're talking
wild, isn't it?
Gross sales or number of homes sold?
Volume
it would have to
be volume. It'd be gross sales.
Sales, yeah.
Yeah, but just as an anecdotal experience with how the market is in certain areas, it's not everywhere like this.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we put an offer on a house, $65,000 above asking, and I waived everything on it, waived inspection, all that kind of stuff. Put appraisal gap in there, we didn't get it. We didn't get the house.
Yeah, you're still seeing really aggressive stuff. Yeah, it is.
And everybody was like, interest rates are going to crash it. So real estate's weird because nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen with it.
Sorry, I think Omaha is a property taxes notwithstanding because they're a joke.
They are a joke, yeah.
But it's overall the cost of living when you compare a lot of other larger areas that are around here. It's for the most part we have good education.
Great education,
and so it's really landlocked. If Omaha wants to continue to grow, Elkhorn's bought up.
Yep.
It's Bennington and Gretna, and then Waterloo.
Yep.
So I think it's probably a race to the finish with
development.
Yes,
it is still.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of liked what you said, Danny, on your goals. It was refreshing for me to hear someone be a little bit more. I don't want to say realistic, but real. I feel like everybody else talks about their goals are
push it.
Yeah, just go so far, massive. I'm gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna do this. But sometimes I feel like it's get what you got going and make it solid first.
Yeah.
Before you do all this
continue
expansion.
To solidify the base. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah.
Get that, real estate is kind of what people do that. They're real estate agent here, they do good amount of business, I'm gonna go to a new market. And it's you only have 0.5% of your current market.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Saturate that first.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot? Do you have people?
Yeah,
really?
All the time.
I guess naivety. I always thought that if you were a realtor in Omaha, Nebraska, you don't really try and branch out and go into other areas.
There'll be a team model.
Yeah.
They'll do their systems and processes, hire someone in a different area to run it.
Got it.
Or they'll try to adjust and go to a different price point market. And they're I'm going to go dominate this market. And that's never, there's still a lot of business to be had in the market you're in.
Yeah.
There's still a lot.
Yeah. Most people are way undersaturated.
Yeah.
How does it work intra business with you guys? Is there healthy competition amongst the real estate agents that are in here?
You know what? I mean, actually, I would digress. I don't think about anything with
me either
at all. I have zero interest in being part of competitions for anything. They try to do that in some of these offices, and to me,
to motivate.
I don't feel competition with anybody else.
No, and I mean, to me, is irrelevant and does not register for me.
Yeah,
and I'm a really competitive guy.
Yep.
Same,
but me, it's more intrinsic. I have to kick my own butt.
You motivate yourself.
Yeah, or if you partner with a really good person, you're hey, I think you're underserving yourself here, and that would motivate me. But if you're trying to motivate me off of material, it ain't working.
Yeah, but I can think I guess your question if you're going oh, this guy's doing this, type of thing. I think that motivates certain people. Me, I don't even look at it.
Yeah,
I don't even look at what they're doing.
Yeah,
I don't care at all.
There's just so much. There's just so much out there that if you need to be analyzing what you're doing, whether it's working or not.
There's this agent that I actually originally learned stuff from, how to get started. He's in Arizona, and he said real estate is the biggest smoke and mirrors industry of all time. So you really never know what someone's doing anyways, and they could act like they're doing. Or you could see someone that's dude, they're crushing it, but then you figure out their dad gave them all the deals, or you figured out that they got or
they pay a burn rate of $25,000 a month on Zillow leads.
They're making $30,000, but spending $25,000.
Yeah, so just different.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So you never really know how someone's doing. That's why I don't care.
What about we talk about our sales goals and the metrics that we track, number of leads that we run versus how many of those leads that we close.
Yep.
Your boss is. I don't know that
just
the
us.
hierarchy within Keller Williams, but do you have people that are above you that come down on you guys discussing why didn't you close this lead or
We're our bosses.
100% 1099, self-employed.
got it.
Yep. So this is a franchise model, and we just hang our license here in order to operate independently.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, but Keller Williams basically has nothing to do with our businesses.
Other than the fact that we
Use the name.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of liability.
The broker checks our contracts, stuff like that.
That's about
Make
it.
sure we're doing things correctly and compliance is in order.
Yeah.
Legal stuff. It's more like legal stuff is really what it is.
Are all of them like that?
Yeah. Yeah. All real estate agents that way. You can be part of teams.
Yep. And then there's a couple models like Redfin's a little different.
Yeah, you're like an employee there.
There.
Yeah.
So, but mostly it's all independent contractors.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's the problem with most people getting into real estate is they're used to having some kind of structure and someone telling them what to do.
Oversight.
Real estate, there's no structure. You just got to get in and figure out
have
your
to
own
be driven.
structure. Yeah. And so that's why it has such a massive fail rate. I mean, 90-something% of agents, this guy included,
Ouch.
fail in the first 3 years. You know,
Well, they don't want it.
hey, that's good.
That's really
You
good.
beat the odds big time.
Found your calling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a massive dropout rate. And it's just because, one, it's one of the most competitive markets to be in. How many agents are there in Omaha?
3,000 active, 5,000 total.
Really?
So you got 5,000 technical licensed agents here,
And
right?
there's 250 houses that came out of sale this in the last 7 days. That's it, 250 houses.
Yeah.
And over half of them are sold within 7 days.
And basically the top 50 people are doing everything.
Yeah, 50 to 100.
Yeah, are doing everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
90,
Not
10,
even, it's like 90-10.
Yeah.
And so you got thousands of people that have their license
Struggling.
that are making zero money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it costs money to keep your license.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a very feast or famine
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I remember getting into it. You see people like, it's funny. I would see people doing like our production and I would think, oh my God, those guys got it figured out. Those guys are awesome. And now I'm like, dude, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. You know, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But it's an interesting industry for sure. It's very like, if I were to know everything I know now, probably wouldn't be the industry I picked. But now my whole decade of knowledge is based around it. And I know how to
you
do
could
it.
say that about
Probably.
so many
true.
things.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, and I think that's what it should be because you wouldn't go after things.
Yeah.
The ignorance allows you to take the risk because at that point it's not a risk. It's like, well, shit, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
you know?
I'm so glad I did pick the industry.
same.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And being self-employed, being a business owner, you are the maestro of your own destiny kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
master of your own
If you
destiny.
screw up, it's on you. If
on
you
you.
do well, it's on you.
And you get to pick yourself back up the next day.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
you don't have to pick, well, I'm going to go look for a new job tomorrow. It doesn't really, it's not that often.
Yeah.
Have you always had a partner? Have you?
No, neither of us. Both of us were. So I'm from South Dakota, and both of us had like really similar size businesses, similar setup. We got clients different ways, but he was here and I was in Rapid City, South Dakota. So we were just similar. And I was moving here because my whole family moved and they're here basically, and we just organically got together.
That was kind of where I was going. Has it helped you guys now being together that you both kind of hold each other accountable?
Synergy-wise, for sure.
I would say like unspoken accountability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, Tyson, did you do your stuff today?
No.
You know?
But it is definitely collaboration,
For sure. Yeah.
double checking,
Yep.
and growth in terms of like, hey, how do we move this forward? We
And
gotta
different
move the
strengths.
Yeah, different strengths. Mhm.
Yeah.
What did you bring, Tyson? By the way, thank you for serving our country.
Yeah.
What did you bring from your military background into what you do now?
Good question.
My biggest thing that I probably brought is not organization that went out once but I think largely is the that failure is a necessity and that you will learn through that every time, but you must get back up. So that was the whole thing that I always had going in the military, but it solidified of, you can't do it alone and you got to fail to be able to grow. And that was okay. So if something doesn't work, pivot, redo it again.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
We need to put that on a Milestone Group T-shirt. Failure is a necessity.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's super
But
cool.
I think that's important because I don't like that idea of, the culture of, fear of failure. How do you measure success if you can't fail?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly, my character's defined by my failures, not my successes. Like, how did you handle yourself in the hardship? You're going to find out what you're made of when the pressure's on when you get squeezed.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
So that to me is, if I can take the lumps and I know I'll get back up, I know that I will infinitely outlast somebody. It's outlasting the temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I hate the age of participation trophies.
Yeah,
I'm so
same.
against it.
That's
You need to get your shit kicked in.
Yeah.
More than once to know what that feels like and to know what the perseverance feels like.
Yeah. And it's good. You know what? It's a great freaking story. Like, yeah, man, I'll tell you some, stories about getting beat up on, getting scuffed up on some different things. You're just like, that resonates with people. When I see somebody and you're like, how you doing? Oh, I'm great. Oh, my life's all, rainbows and butterflies. You're like, I don't even want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
I'm having a
They got no
rough
grit to
day.
it. They got no grit to
You
them.
connect
Yeah.
through adversity. You don't connect through like all the good times. You connect through adversity and challenge.
Yeah.
That's where relationships are made.
Should we end this with like my coolest story of all time?
How long is it? I got to go.
It's going to go like 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay.
Should we end it with that?
Roll it.
And then we
Sure.
get out of here?
Yeah, this is your best
I
story of
wanna
all
hear
time.
I've been like thinking of sharing this in the podcast for a while, and I want to share it with these guys because I feel like they'll find me cooler because of it. So me and my brother, back in the day when I first got my license in real estate, we were doing it together for like a short period. And at the time, we were just trying to be savages, basically is what we were trying to do. So we were dedicated. We're waking up at 4 a.m. every day. We're going to work out at 4. We're going to go extreme diet, only take cold showers. We were just trying to be savages, basically, okay? While trying to start this business, right? Trying to start being a real estate agent. So we're doing that, and we run into this. We partner up with this guy kind of, and he has an office space in this giant warehouse. And he is there because he's an investor in this guy's company. And this guy's company is I was kind of confused about it. I was like, what does this guy do exactly? And he was like, hey, I told him you guys are going to be here, but he's really weird about privacy with his stuff. And this is imagine a call center that could fit 5,000 people in it, and we're the only ones there. That's the feeling of this room. It was a bunch of cubicles and no one's there. So we go there because we're savages, right? We go there at 9 p.m. and we're working, right? We're not really doing anything, but we're just trying to figure stuff out. The guy shows up for the first time, the guy that owns this building. And he goes, who the hell are you guys? He freaks out at us. And we're like, oh shit, And I was like, hey, sorry, we're with so-and-so. And we're just his partners. Oh yeah, they told me you guys were going to be here. Come into my office. So we like go back with them.
Getting boiler room vibes.
This guy gave me weird vibes. Like, sometimes you can just feel like, I don't know about this guy. Really short guy, really aggressive. Like, very confident for no reason. Like if you saw me, like, why is he so confident? Like a short little toad, but brings us into his office. His office is badass. I mean, he's got like a sculpture of he's got like this giant Egyptian sculpture. He's got like swords, crazy stuff like that. Very eclectic, like billionaire type stuff, right? Brings us in there, and the first thing he does, he points at me and says, come here. I was like, okay. I walk over. Keep in mind, I'm 20. His pants at this point. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like 20 years old. My brother's like 19, 18. So we're like pretty impressionable. He goes, sit down. So I sit down. He's like, we're going to play chess. I was like, okay. I play chess with him for like 2 hours. He just annihilates me. I found out later this guy's IQ is like 190. So he's like super high IQ guy. Just beat me down mentally. He just keeps telling me how stupid I am. He's like, you really didn't see that coming again? I've done the same thing to you 5 times in a row.
Wow.
So, and it's at this point, it's like probably 11. And then he starts telling us stories about how the world works and how we're all like pawns and going into detail and all this stuff. And he goes, you guys know how to fight? And I'm like, no, we don't know. I mean, kind of, not really. He goes, okay. Throws this stick at my brother, like this fighting stick.
Sounds like Whiplash.
It's like a Bond villain.
For the next hour, we're fighting this guy with sticks. He's slapping our back, slapping our head, slapping our hands. And then he's like, do you know hand-to-hand combat? No.
Why are you still in the room?
To this day, me and my brother talk about, why did we not just leave? Then we do hand-to-hand combat. He shows us how he could kill us multiple ways. He has like fake knives on us. This is the catalyst. We're there, and we're just mentally beat down and drained at this point. I think that's what he was trying to do. At this point, he goes, how do you feel like your intuition is to us? And I was like, pretty good. And my brother was like, yeah, it's good. He pulls out a gun, and he goes, do you think it's loaded? Yes or no? And my brother goes, and I was like, hey, we're
Holy
not.
shit.
At this point, I was like, fight or flight. I was like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he goes, my brother goes, don't worry, Christian. It's not fucking loaded, dude. Stares at him like that, and I was like, and the guy points it at his head.
No.
He goes, how confident are you in that? And my brother
What a
goes,
psycho.
and I started freaking out. I was like, put the fucking gun down.
Yeah.
But then in my head, I'm also like, he already showed he can beat the shit out of us. Easily.
Without a gun.
Yeah. So what am I going to do? Right? So he points the gun, and that's what's going through my head. I'm like, I cannot defeat this guy's like, and maybe I can get it, and he kills me, and Jack gets out of here, my brother. That's what I was like thinking.
Jesus.
And so he points the gun at him, and then my brother, just crazy, I'll never forget this. He looks at me and goes, don't worry, bro. Click it. It's not loaded, bitch. And I was like, oh my God. He goes, oh, you're sure about that? Had the magazine in it. Okay, because I was like, we've grown up around guns, had the magazine in it, and Jack's like, click it. Let's see, pull the trigger. And I was like, Jack,
What are you doing?
and I was like second away from tackling this guy and like trying to get my brother out of there, and he goes, click,
What?
pulls the trigger.
Nothing was in it.
Nothing was in it. And then Jack goes, told you. And the guy looked at me and he goes, do you really think I would have a loaded gun at his head? And I'm like, I don't fucking know you, dude.
Based on you whooping our ass for the last couple hours.
So here's the craziest part of that. My brother leave like right after that with it. We didn't say a word to each other. We're just mentally drained and beat. We just drive back to our place.
In shock.
We had never talked about that until like 6 months ago.
This is like 10 years ago.
It's like 10 years ago.
What was the whole? What was like? Why were you guys?
Ever since that day, that dude was our bro, dude. He loved us. Every time, like the next time we saw him, he introduced his whole team. He's like, these are mid. These guys are solid. And I was like, was he just testing us? You know? But
That's out of a movie.
Dude, I know. And what's crazy, me and my brother brought it up around my wife and his wife. And they were like, why have you never told us this? And we were like, we haven't even talked about it ourselves.
Trauma.
Yeah, trauma.
Yeah. Trauma. We buried that deep. Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like
Also, men are vaults.
we just shut it down.
Yes.
Never again. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
But after that, he was just our bro. And then we found out later he's like a massive con artist.
Oh my god.
And he went to prison. This guy did.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to prison for being like conning people out of money or something, I guess. But it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. We were in his office for
So what'd you learn?
6 months. I learned my brother's a savage. I was like, my brother he's good. I'll just trust him from now on. I couldn't believe that he didn't care, dude.
Oh, that's
like,
crazy.
imagine Danny being like, you're good, dude. Pull the trigger. You'd be like, no, dude, what are you thinking?
No way.
Yeah.
It's easy to think. It's easy when you're not in that position to say what you would do in that position.
Yeah.
But
I don't
until
know.
you're in those shoes.
don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and we're at a pretty big desk. He's on the other side of the desk. So even I was like, my head was like, how do I get to him?
Yeah, how do you
know what I mean? How do I get over there fast enough?
So what was his whole purpose for being there? He just the business, the building owner,
Yeah, he just owned the building.
and he was just hanging out.
He was
while
coming
you
in there
guys
to work, I guess, at night. I don't know. We were just being savage.
He was bored and he wanted 2 little ponds.
He wanted to
play
scare
with
some
them.
punks.
He probably saw us on the security cameras. Probably, you know
He's
what I
like,
mean?
I'll teach these
Yeah.
young
Yeah.
whippersnappers.
I have an impressionable moment here. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Probably.
It was crazy, though. I don't know why I felt like telling the story, but
But I'm glad you shared that.
Glad to share it.
yeah,
that
it's
was interesting.
Kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
But guys, this has been awesome. Thanks for coming on. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, the
Enjoyed it
cadence,
too.
as Will
It
would
was
say,
enjoyable.
Yeah, the
has
cadence
been
is good.
insane.
Cadence is good.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.